Alright my people, gather close because the gist I am about to drop today is hotter than Abuja sun in August, sweeter than Nollywood romance, and so juicy you will not want to blink or miss even a single second. But before I scatter this table and bring you into the full drama that has been shaking Nollywood quietly behind the cameras, let me remind you quickly, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, you are sitting on a long thing. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on your notification bell, because the way I am about to serve this gist hot, you will not want to miss any update that will follow this one. Now, sit tight because this one is about Maurice, Sonia, Uche, and Bryan Okwara, and trust me, the story will make you question love, loyalty, professionalism, and even jealousy in ways you never imagined. It all started on the set of a brand new blockbuster movie that fans have been waiting for, one that already had people buzzing because the cast list was loaded with talent. Sonia Uche was the shining female lead, as always carrying her usual charm, elegance, and grace that make fans glued to the screen. Beside her, the leading men were none other than Maurice, her frequent co-star who many already ship with her in real life, and Bryan Okwara, the tall, handsome, and charismatic actor whose presence always turns heads. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Cameras were rolling, lights were blazing, and the production was shaping up to be nothing short of magic. But what fans did not see was the drama unfolding behind the scenes, drama that had the cast and crew whispering and choosing sides. The tension began with a scene that required deep emotion, the kind of romantic tension that sells Nollywood movies like hotcake. Sonia and Bryan were supposed to deliver a passionate moment that would bring the audience to tears. The script had its lines, the director had given his cues, but Bryan decided to take things one step further. In the heat of the moment, Bryan improvised, stepping beyond what was written to bring more life and rawness into the performance. Now, for most actors, improvisation is part of the job. It brings authenticity, it adds flavor, and sometimes it creates unforgettable movie moments. But in this case, Maurice was not having it. Maurice, who has always been known for his protective nature towards Sonia both on and off screen, immediately felt that Bryan had crossed a line. To him, there are boundaries in acting, especially when you are dealing with someone's personal space, someone you clearly have personal feelings for. Maurice confronted Bryan right there, making it known that what happened was not sitting well with him. And my people, that is when the real drama began. Some crew members said Maurice was right, after all, respect is respect, whether on screen or off screen. Others said he was simply being jealous, mixing business with emotions, and not understanding that Bryan was just doing his job as an actor. Now, if you were in Sonia's shoes, how would you feel? That is the big question. On one hand, some people said Maurice's reaction was the kind of protective love every woman secretly desires, the kind that shows he truly cares. On the other hand, there were those who felt it was controlling, unnecessary, and even a little embarrassing because it happened in front of other people on set. For Sonia, who has always carried herself with class, the situation put her in a tough spot. She could not take sides openly without risking more tension, but at the same time, she could not just keep quiet and let things boil over. This is where Sonia's maturity came into play. Instead of letting the matter divide the camp or grow into silent beef, she sat both men down like a true queen and addressed the issue head-on. She made it clear that while Bryan's improvisation brought depth to the story, boundaries must be respected in creative work, especially when the chemistry on screen could easily be mistaken for something more. She also reminded Maurice that professionalism requires a level of trust, both in her and in the craft of acting, and that personal feelings should not always clash with the work they all signed up to do. That move alone showed her strength, and some people even say Sonia proved she was the real leader on that set, keeping everything under control without letting it explode into full-blown scandal. But let us not forget the role of the director in all of this. From his point of view, Bryan did nothing wrong. In fact, the director encouraged Bryan's improvisation because he believed it gave the story life, passion, and a spark that the scripted lines were lacking. And to be honest, that is how many great movie moments are born, through actors stepping out of the script and giving raw emotion. The question then becomes, should directors prioritize the craft above the emotions of the actors involved? Should they push for the magic on screen no matter what happens behind the scenes? Some say yes, that the art comes first. Others argue that human emotions and boundaries should never be sacrificed, no matter the movie. And here lies the thin line between acting and reality. When a romantic scene feels so real that even the actors themselves begin to blur the difference between performance and true attraction, how do you draw the line? For Bryan, it was pure acting. For Maurice, it looked like something else. For Sonia, it was just work, but at the same time, she understood why Maurice reacted the way he did. This triangle of emotions created a storm on set, one that fans will never see when the final movie hits the screens. Because while the audience will be mesmerized by the beautiful performance, they will have no clue about the heat, the arguments, and the heart-to-heart conversations that made those moments possible. Some crew members said Bryan was careless, that he should have known better than to take liberties with Sonia during the scene, especially considering her well-known closeness with Maurice. Others defended him, insisting that he was simply doing his job as an actor and giving everything to the role. This back and forth created a lot of whispers, but at the end of the day, the lesson was clear: boundaries in creative work must be respected, but trust is equally important. So, what is the biggest takeaway from this whole saga? Some will say Maurice needed to learn trust, that his protectiveness almost crossed into possessiveness. Others will say Bryan needed to understand the importance of respecting personal boundaries, no matter how passionate a scene requires him to be. And still, others will point to Sonia as the real star of the story, not only for her performance but for her ability to remain calm, professional, and wise enough to settle the matter before it damaged the entire production. Now, let us not forget the audience perception. Fans will only see the magic on screen. They will watch Sonia and Bryan's scene and feel the chemistry, the raw emotion, and the beauty of the performance, without knowing the sweat, the confrontation, and the emotional storm that brewed behind the camera. That is the irony of Nollywood. Sometimes the best on-screen moments come from the most dramatic behind-the-scenes realities. The question then becomes, should personal issues on set ever matter as long as the final product is great? Some say no, that what counts is the entertainment value. Others argue that the well-being of actors should never be overlooked, because at the end of the day, they are human beings first before they are performers. At the end of the day, this gist shows us the delicate balance between professionalism and personal feelings, between art and reality, between love and work. Maurice's reaction was human, born out of love and maybe a little jealousy. Bryan's improvisation was artistic, born out of passion for the craft. Sonia's response was wise, born out of maturity and understanding. Together, the three of them created a story that fans may never know in full, but one that shaped the movie in ways no one could have expected. So my people, as you wait for this movie to finally hit your screens, remember this gist. When you watch that powerful scene between Sonia and Bryan, when you see the sparks flying and the chemistry glowing, know that behind that one moment lies a full drama of love, tension, jealousy, and resolution that could have been a movie on its own. And trust me, the gist will not end here. As long as Nollywood exists, the line between acting and reality will always be tested, and your favorite stars will always find themselves caught between love, professionalism, and the magic of storytelling. Perfect. Let me pick up from where I stopped and expand it fully so that it blends into one continuous, hot, and irresistible gist that will pull your audience in and hold them till the very last word. Now my people, before you start taking sides and defending your favorite, let us go deeper because the story did not just end with Sonia's attempt to cool things down. Even after she sat both Maurice and Bryan down like a true queen, the atmosphere on set remained thick. You could almost cut the tension with a knife. Maurice, even though he respected Sonia's words, still kept an eagle eye on Bryan whenever the cameras rolled. He would stand somewhere on set pretending to be casual, but everybody knew his mind was calculating, watching, and measuring Bryan's every move. Crew members started whispering, "This one no love oh, but maybe he done too much." Some even joked that Maurice was giving Bryan silent auditions to prove he was not crossing any line again. Bryan, on his part, tried to act unbothered, but you could see that he too had been affected by the confrontation. He is a professional, yes, but nobody wants to be painted as careless or disrespectful on set. He toned down his improvisation a little, sticking closer to the script, but even then, the natural chemistry between him and Sonia was too strong to be hidden. That chemistry is what directors die for, the kind that makes a movie unforgettable. But for Maurice, every spark felt like a small thorn in his side. And Sonia. She carried herself with such balance that even the crew members had to respect her. She would smile when the cameras came on, deliver her lines with power, and then step off set with calm composure. But deep inside, people could tell that managing both men's egos was not an easy job. Sometimes she would pull Maurice aside to reassure him, sometimes she would encourage Bryan to keep giving his best without fear. In a way, Sonia became the bridge holding the whole production together, because if she had chosen to either ignore the situation or openly take sides, the whole project might have collapsed under the weight of personal tension. Let me tell you, fans watching from outside will never guess this. They will see Bryan and Sonia's performance and start shouting, "Chemistry overload." They will start cutting clips, posting them on TikTok, and even writing ship names for the two of them. Some will even say Sonia should consider Bryan instead of Maurice because of how real it looks. But those of us who know the behind-the-scenes gist understand that what looks like magic on screen came with plenty of sweat, whispered arguments, late-night discussions, and moments that nearly derailed the whole set. Now, the director too had his own challenges. You know, directors always want to push their actors to the limit, to get the best emotions possible. He believed strongly in Bryan's improvisation, and in private conversations, he even said that Maurice was letting emotions cloud his judgment. But at the same time, the director could not risk losing Maurice's energy on set because Maurice himself was also one of the main characters, a driving force in the story. So he had to tread carefully, balancing art with emotions, creativity with respect, and professionalism with love. The funniest part, my people, is how fans outside were already speculating even without knowing the real gist. Some people started noticing that Maurice looked too serious in certain behind-the-scenes clips that leaked online. Others said they spotted Sonia looking extra cautious whenever she was around Bryan during interviews. And you know how social media works, small smoke will immediately be turned into big fire. People started spreading rumors that Bryan and Sonia were getting too close, while others defended Maurice for standing his ground. Let me even scatter this table further. Some insiders whispered that after one particular scene between Bryan and Sonia, Maurice almost walked off set completely. They said he muttered something about not wanting to watch what he considered a nonsense anymore. It took Sonia literally following him outside, calming him down, and promising that nothing beyond acting was going on for him to return. Whether that is true or not, nobody can say with 100% certainty, but my people, just like that does not just appear from nowhere. So at this point, let us ask ourselves again, was Maurice right or wrong? Was it love speaking or jealousy? Some say jealousy in small doses is natural, it even spices up a relationship. After all, if you love someone, you will naturally want to protect them. But others argue that in Sonia's line of work, trust is non-negotiable. If Maurice truly believes in her, then he should also trust her ability to draw the line between acting and reality. And that is where the lesson lies for many of us. In relationships, love without trust becomes heavy, and trust without love becomes weak. The two must balance each other. As for Bryan, people have mixed feelings. Some say he was careless, that even though improvisation is part of acting, he should have been sensitive to the personal dynamics on set. Others insist he did nothing wrong, that acting is acting, and if you start cutting down performance because of personal insecurities, then you are not being true to the craft. In fact, some crew members even confessed that the scene Bryan improvised became one of the strongest in the whole movie. Can you imagine? The very moment that caused all the drama ended up being a gem for the film. That is Nollywood for you, drama inside drama. And let us not forget Sonia's role in all this. By the time the movie wrapped up, people were openly praising her professionalism. One crew member reportedly said, "If not for Sonia, this set for Don scatter." She became the peacekeeper, the mediator, and at the same time, the star actress delivering top-notch performance. She proved that maturity is not just about age but about wisdom and balance. She knew when to speak, when to stay calm, and when to act. And that is why many people say she is not just a Nollywood princess but a Nollywood queen in her own right. So when the movie finally comes out, my people, just know that the magic you will see on your screens is layered with emotions you will never fully understand. Every smile, every tear, every passionate glance carries a story behind it. Fans will argue, make edits, and even create fan fiction, not knowing that the real-life gist behind the cameras was even hotter than the movie itself. And this is where I will leave you with one final thought: in life, in love, and in work, boundaries and trust must work hand in hand. Maurice showed us the heart of a man in love, Bryan showed us the dedication of an actor to his craft, and Sonia showed us the power of a woman who can hold everything together. Together, the three of them gave us not just a film, but a real-life lesson in balancing love, professionalism, and respect. Now my family, tell me, if you were in Sonia's position, how would you feel? Protected or restricted? If you were Maurice, would you have reacted the same way? And if you were Bryan, would you continue to improvise or play it safe? The comment section is open, scatter it with your thoughts, let me know where you stand because this gist is not ending here. And please, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, you are missing out big time. Hit that button now because gists like this will continue to drop, hot and exclusive, only here.